This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's access media station, Plains FM, and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
It's time for Emergence News on Plains FM 96.9, citizen-made radio.
Kia ora and welcome to Emergence News. In the studio with me are Peter and John, two very biblical names. My name's Nigel, and there's nothing too biblical about. Oh, I don't think there is. Although my middle name's David, so.
Oh yeah, you're in there, buddy. You're in there.
But just to give you a bit of insight into the religious background of both sides of my family, there's 3 Davids, 2 James, a Mark, Andrew, Paul, Peter, and 2 Benjamins.
Ah.
So that gives you a bit of insight into the religious depth of both sides of my family.
David features in my family name as well. Yeah. So actually, if we've got a Peter and a John, you should really change your name to Paul, maybe?
You don't think I should stick with Nigel, David? Hey, look, welcome to the program. This is Emergence News. We talk about Maitreya, who is the next world teacher. He is the head of the spiritual hierarchy. And back in 1977, between 1977 and 1982, Maitreya recorded 140 messages. And these messages were delivered during public lectures by Benjamin Creme in London by a process called mental overshadowing or spiritual telepathy. That's not to be confused with mediumship or channeling. So there's no trance or mediumship involved.
Yeah.
Through these 140 messages, Maitreya offers ideas and information for humanity to consider, such as social change, justice. He suggests the lines that social change must take. Can you give us an example of that, John?
Of what? Social lines that sharing.
Yeah.
Share and save the world is one of Maitreya's catchphrases. When you share, you beget trust. When you have trust, you can have justice.
And there's a lot of people calling out for justice and fairness at the moment.
And when you have justice, you have peace.
Yeah. He also, Maitreya, through these 140 messages, Peter, he gives hints on how to recognise him. Can you guys think of an example of that?
Well, when you hear somebody talking about sharing, you know, that is a definite signature that they're on the right track, because it's following Maitreya's sharing ideas and justice. You know, if you hear someone talking about justice, they're worth listening to, too. They may have the wrong idea, but, you know, it certainly gives you a broader picture of it.
Yeah. I think that we've talked before about being in the presence of someone who's a high initiate, you know, someone who might be a 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. And I think that if you saw Maitreya, heard Maitreya through the media, or you would feel the energy emanating off him. He's the embodiment of love on this planet, so that would be coming out of him. You'd feel that.
So a hint of how to recognise him might be through the heart. If something, a word is verbalised or vocalised, and it touches your heart, and you sense truth in that,
that's right.
It's probably Maitreya.
Look, I think that on the day of declaration, people will have deep emotional responses because their heart chakra will be stimulated, and also that aspect, that Christ principle that resides in all of us will also be.
That's right. There'll be a flood of tears all around the world.
Probably, tears of joy, tears of realisation. But remember, he's going to talk about humanity's history. That is going to be really interesting.
These 140 messages, he also talks about his plans, his priorities, the laws of life and how they apply to your life, the laws of life. And if you'd like to touch in on what some of those laws are about, we have a number of podcasts, a number of programs that have been recorded and they are catalogued on our YouTube channel. And earlier this year, you two both did a book review on the laws of life. Fantastic stuff, covering subjects such as karma, rebirth, harmlessness, just to name 3. Maitreya's teachings, honesty of mind, sincerity of spirit, and detachment are also widely referred to in the 140 messages that were recorded back in 1977 through to 1982. One more thing I'd like to talk about in regard to these messages is it's recommended that as a reader that you take one message at a time and read it out aloud. In this way, the rhythmic, mantric quality of each message can be better felt. It is almost impossible to say these messages out aloud with attention, with focused attention, without invoking the Christ's energy, his heart response. And I know that when I first heard these messages, when I first joined the Christchurch meditation group, these messages are apparently very simple, sent from the heart to the heart, but work on various levels as should be meditated upon for their full meaning to come through. Some people find it best to select one message daily and meditate on that. So do what works for you. Mm-hmm. You can read them, you can read the messages, or you can even get audio tapes. You can go online to the Share International website, and there's a sample. If you go to, there's a selection on the menu, Maitreya's 140 messages, and I think the first 10 messages are in print there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so there's plenty of opportunity. And the book is actually published. I'm not sure if you can get the books with. You can order them online through the website. And I got the book on Kindle this week.
Yeah.
Less than $5.
Yeah, I've got a number of Benjamin Cream's books on Kindle, so that's a very easy, cheap way to get hold of them.
Okay, and look, previously on this program, 2 years ago, we did a program on message number 11. And in that message, he says, my plan is to show you that the way out of your problems is to listen again to the true voice of God within your hearts, which is just what we were talking about. To share the produce of this most bountiful of worlds among your brothers and sisters everywhere. And that was from message number 11, recorded January 5, back in 1978. Very applicable right now, isn't it? And today we're going to focus in on message number 53. And Peter, would you do us the honour and read that message for us?
Do that, Nigel.
Can I just ask, I was a bit out of the loop here, how did we get to message number 53?
It was featured recently in the New Zealand Listener. So I thought, how timely.
Cool, all right.
Great. Here we go. My dear friends, I am happy to be with you once more. My methods meet with success. My agents work correctly and well. All proceeds to plan. My plan is to remain in my centre until my declaration is made. Then my progression around the countries of the world will begin, and all men shall see my face. When I place myself before you, I shall ask for your allegiance, for your help in service to your brothers. I know already those on whom I may count. My task will be to take you on a journey into truth, into the blessed country of love, and there to show you to yourselves as God. My masters likewise will take you by the hand and lead you to his divine feet. Let us together show the world that the need for war is past, that the instinct of man is to live and to love, that hatred is begotten of separation, that the law of God lives in man and is fundamental to his nature. All of this shall I show you. Work with me and prove this to be true. I am the convener of God's love. I am the administrator of God's will. The light of God dwells in me, and that light do I turn on you. Grow therein, my friends, and shine with glory of God. My plan is to reveal myself in such a way that few indeed will know not that I am. Therefore, watch for my presence. Seek out my face and words, and hearken quickly to them. My blessing goes with you all. May the divine light and love and power of the one most holy God be now manifest within your hearts and minds. May this manifestation lead you to be ever mindful of your likeness to God.
This is Emergence News. We are focused on Maitreya's message number 53 on this program. And thank you, Peter, for reading out that message. You're welcome. What are your impressions of this message, John? What jumped out at me was towards the end of conflict, let us together show the world that the need for war is past.
That's the one that jumped out to me. Let us together show the world that the need for war is past. That the instinct of man is to live and to love, that hatred is begotten of separation, that the law of God lives in man and is fundamental to his nature. Our last program we talked about competition and cooperation. We talked about that ability to promote yourself and your self-interest, or that ability to take that self into group endeavour. So cooperation. There's been some great quotes on the internet, the flat screen thing, where competition is the law of the jungle. Cooperation is the law of civilization. And so when you are talking to people about me and we, yes, the law of the jungle is competition, but we are above that. And the law of competition has damaged this planet deeply on every level. It's damaged humanity deeply on every level. And so that idea of that hatred is begotten of separation. Hatred comes out of separation. I think it's a really important message, and one that is so pertinent today, because separation is an ascendancy. That polarization that's going on is separation. Yes. You know, and when we look at who may have voted for the president-elect in the last USA elections, it would be frightened, fearful people who think they're going to lose their ascendancy in that country. I think he's mined the deepest, darkest fears of a huge amount of Americans.
I think you're right, actually, because they were talking on the national program here in New Zealand about that election campaign and how Harris basically was bringing a positive perspective to her campaign, and the Republican campaign was largely a negative, dark message.
Yeah.
It won 53% of the vote. The dark, negative, fearful or fear-inducing message that was being delivered during the election campaign.
So even today, if you push the fear button, it will make you victorious. And we'd like to think we're above it, but clearly we're not.
Not yet.
Not yet. So that message that I think that Maitreya talks about, and we've talked about the content of these messages, he talks about that unity and oneness constantly. Benjamin Creme talks about we must realise we are one.
Yes, we're
That's
part
the
of
first
God.
step. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're one organism living on this planet.
When you were talking just a few moments ago, John, about separation, I've heard Peter say on previous programs many times, separation is actually an illusion.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're not separate at all. And anybody who has had a out-of-body experience will tell you, and there's a lot of documented evidence of this, they will tell you, we're not separate at all. We're all here together. We're all part of each other. We're, as you just said, like a living organism. We're part of the logos of the planet.
Yeah,
once you start to get your head around that, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah, well, the separation is sort of like an emotional reaction, isn't it? To
yes, fear.
Your fears and solar plexus stuff.
It's
definitely
astral emotional. Yeah, absolutely. Very easy to stimulate and target because the majority of humanity on the planet is astrally focused, so that you can play with their fears constantly. And we've talked a little bit before in this program about the Course in Miracles, the book that's Benjamin Cream's talked about as a disciple carnate to a disciple incarnate of Jesus. So it's very much some of the thoughts and ideas of Jesus. And it posits that humans have two emotions, love and fear. Now, we know that love's not an emotion, but let's just break it down. So humans have love and fear. That's our primary basis. So love is the heart chakra. Fear is the solar plexus chakras, right? And the book goes on to say you can only express one at a time. And they are the opposites. Love is the opposite of fear.
And there's barely a human being on the planet that isn't, to some degree, controlled by fear.
Oh, absolutely. We've discussed this previously, that the planet's awash with fear. Humanity's awash with fear. And I suspect the forces of darkness, which we discussed last program, that is their primary tool.
That's right.
Fear and greed. And fear and competition brings out that I must have. And for me to have, I must take.
Yeah. It doesn't appear to be enough for me left, you know.
Yeah, so this message, if I'm coming back to that, let us together show the world that the need for war is past. It's the biggest industry on the planet. That the instinct of man is to live and to love. That's our nature. That's our divine gift.
Yes, that's an interesting word that's used there. It's the instinct of man. To live and to love.
Yeah. That hatred is begotten of separation. That if you believe you are separate, then how you treat that which you believe you are separate from requires no scrutiny. You know, if you believe you're separate from a forest, then you can chop it down. If you believe a forest has no value to you on a deeper level, you can destroy it.
Destroy it and collect the money.
Yeah, if you believe you are separate from the planet, how you treat it bears no sincere scrutiny. So I think separation, and Benjamin Cream's talked about separation as being the greatest victory of the forces of evil, is the belief that we are separate.
That's right, yeah.
Because it sets up a whole raft of other beliefs around how you can behave.
Yeah.
If I'm separate from you, Peter, what happens to you doesn't bother me at all. It's not my business. None of my business what happens to other people.
Well, you see, the same thing happened in Germany, didn't it? They were separate from the rest of humanity. They were better than the rest of humanity.
Fascism dines out on separation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Racism dines out on separation.
Yeah.
If I can see myself as different from you because of the colour of your skin, and we are separate, then how I treat you is just part of the game.
So what's the answer, guys? Is it enormous courage? Do we have to, we've talked about courage being, that's the job of the initiates, isn't it? It's the job of those who are advanced on the evolutionary scale to inspire the rest of us to what? Protest, to stand up against separation, to stand up against selfishness, greed.
Yep.
If our education system is promoting competition at the expense of the other students in the class, and that doesn't feel right and correct to you, we have to stand up. We have to stand up for what we have to stand up for change, don't we?
Yeah, we have to place our spear in the ground and say, this is where I stand. This is who I am and this is where I am.
You can see why some people choose homeschooling for their children, can't you?
Yeah, to withdraw. It's a withdraw from community, a withdraw from society. And I'm not sure that's the best way to go forward either. To fix the world, you've got to know the world. And I think that in some way you've got to be experienced of the world to understand the world. And I think one of the other victories of the forces of evil is to own the major vehicles of communication on this planet.
The media.
They tell their story. So they constantly sell us competition, they constantly sell us capitalism, and they constantly sell us that everything's fine.
The American dream.
Everything is great. There's no need to worry. Everything is fine. These big corporations will take care of us. Just keep watching telly. You'll be fine. Excuse my cynicism.
Oh, it's dripping, isn't it? Hey? There's another line here, Peter, that you read out, that the law of God lives in man and it's fundamental to his nature. The law of God. What does that mean?
Well, we've got to realise that we are part of this God.
We are divine in nature.
We are, yeah. We're immortal beings, and God is an immortal being. We're one and the same.
So why have we forgotten that?
I think that's separation.
Yeah, it's the fear that's come in. We're scared of the thunder, the lightning, what's it going to do? We've seen our children being killed before us and that sort of thing.
I think that realising this oneness of humanity, I think that's amazing. And I've said this before, that the quote that Benjamin Creme has that really shook me, and I read it decades ago, and that is, he talks about all life has either passed through the stage of humanity or will pass through the stage of humanity. So we are a layer in the layer cake of life cosmically, universally. So that which we call the logos of this planet, the being that the physical planet is the expression of, the energetic qualities of this planet is the expression of, at some point was human. The logos of the solar system, where this collection of planets and sun is the physical expression of that great being, was at some point human.
So the lower forms have to go through the gateway of being human to move towards
everything else.
Everything else that is yet to arrive. So if you're wanting to get in touch with your soul, develop the Antakarana, and move towards divinity, you've got to move through the human experience.
And it's pretty straightforward. Pick up meditation. Meditation and service is the right royal road to enlightenment. Pick up meditation and start practicing honesty, sincerity and detachment, because separation does not stand scrutiny. Separation does not stand scrutiny, and separation is the thing that's bubbling around in your emotional mind mostly. Is that idea that for me to do better, I must get over someone else. And, one of my favourite quotes is, don't take it personally, it's just business. Okay, so you've stripped me and my family and my children of any future, and I'm supposed to get over it just because. Don't take it personally, it's just business.
Well, that sounds like our finance minister.
Right, exactly. What drives that is the belief in separation. What drives political parties is the belief in separation. Because if we believed in the oneness, what's the point of a political party?
You're supposed to serve the people, the electorate that have voted you, and you're supposed to take care of them. You're supposed to govern those people to lift them up and make sure that the full expression of potential can be realised.
And these ideas are out there. The mantra of the British Military College Sandhurst is service through leadership. Isn't that a lovely idea? Service through leadership. Our politicians need to practice service through leadership.
And when you do get a politician that provides that level of leadership, they stand out, don't they?
Absolutely.
They stand out, the Abraham Lincolns, the Nelson Mandelas.
Look at the leadership we had in this country a couple of years ago. Absolutely stood out as having concern for others.
Well, she promoted kindness and she got
torn down.
Chopped off at the knees.
Got torn down. Misinformation, a real hatchet job. And I suspect that when we look at who's running the planet currently, those ideas are not welcome.
It makes me think of Winston Churchill. He helped the Allies defeat
the Antichrist.
And he couldn't win. He got voted out at the next election.
Couldn't win the next election.
He couldn't win the next election.
That is classic,
astounding,
isn't it? That is classic.
And look what happened to JFK. And his brother.
Oh, yeah.
And according to Benjamin Creme, both high initiates both above the 2-degree initiate stage.
That's one of the things I'd like America to have a look at. Why do we assassinate our
The good
leaders? Why do we try and kill leadership?
Martin Luther King.
Oh, it's awful.
Welcome back to Emergence News. We are talking about message number 53, one of many messages recorded by Maitreya between 1977 and 1982. A book that contains 140 messages. Where can you get the book from, John?
You can get the book from the Share International website. You can order it. And actually a number of Benjamin Creme's books are free downloads off the Share International website. Not sure if this one is or not. And there's also a volume 2. This is the first 100 messages, and volume 2 is 140 messages. So my advice is, if you're going to buy one, buy volume 2 and get everything.
He's a smart thinker.
Great.
He thinks deeply. Hey, look, before we go, the painting on the front cover, thought you might be interested in this, guys. Reproduced on the cover of the book of 140 messages, represents the flaming diamond, the greater rod of initiation used at the third and the higher initiations by the Lord of the World on Shambhala. Peter, who is the Lord of the World, to finish?
Sanat Kumara. He is the Lord of the World, and he takes the... in fact, he's present at all 5 initiations, but he actually does the last 3 himself. The Christ does the first 2 initiations.
And the current holder of the office of the Christ is Maitreya.
That's right, it is, yep. And so... that's another area we can explore at some future date, the initiations.
Yeah, we can. And ray structure, we've got to talk about ray structure. I'd just like to say to our listeners that I've never seen the flaming diamond, and I see there's a lesser rod used by the Christ at the first 2 initiations. I haven't seen that one either. So you can still get involved with the teachings of Benjamin Creme and Maitreya, even though you're swimming in the mud at the bottom of the pool.
This is the Emergence News on Plains FM. For more information, go to shareinternational.org.